Good day everyone, I am Marjorie CAPIN and today me and my partner will be discussing style as choice. Style as choice. So style as choice, it is your chosen choice or your chosen style rather and how you are going to make, for example, your story engaging to your readers. So style as choice refers it is to the various decisions an author makes regarding language, tone, and structure, and also a rhetorical devices to effectively communicate with their intended audience and fulfill the purpose of their writing. As I've said, it is your chosen style of how you're going to make your story, for example, engaging or interactive to your readers. Language help us talk about what happened in our daily lives, what we do, what we think, and what we experience. It has a system called grammar that us describe actions, thoughts, and events clearly. The system also allows us to talk use language to show what is happening around us or inside us, whether in speaking or writing. We are using it for what's called the experiential function, wherein the experiential function it is a fancy way of showing how your how you are going to make your story interactive through with through your readers. So this just means that language helps us express our experiences and how we understand the world. For example, so if someone says the baby cried because he or she is hungry, so the sentence show an event. The baby is crying and the reason because he or she is I was hungry. So is um, this example is using language to express what is to express if what is the sentence or what is the event shown. If you have any questions, did you understand what is style as choice? Alright, if not, let's move on to the next. The experiential function is important marker of style, especially so of the style of narrative discourse because it emphasizes the concepts of style as choice. As I've, as I've said, that experiential functions it is a fancy way of saying how you express your experiences in your writing. Alright? It is meaning that it is important in writing style, especially in stories, because it shows how a writer chooses to tell what happens. Style is about making choice or what words to use, what actions to show, how you describe people and events. In stories, different writers may describe same event in different ways, depending on what they want to express or they want the reader to feel and understand. For instance, one writer might say, "She ran through the forest, heart pounding." So this means that this showing fear and urgency, while another might say she walked calmly through the forest. This means that it's he or she have show peace and confidence. So both describes someone is moving through the forest, but the choice of words creates in different mood. This is how experiential functions helps shapes the styles of a story. Do you understand? Alright, so now let's move on to the next. Choice in style are motivated even if subconsciously, and these choices have a profound impact on the way texts are structured and interpreted. This means that the people write or uh, speak and make choices in how to use language, and those choices are often about them. These choices, called style, affects how the message is organized and how others understand in different styles. Can make a text sound formal, friendly, serious, or funny. So this does help shape how we feel and think about what we read or hear. So here it is your choice, chosen style on how you're going to make, for instance, your story interactive, engaging, or how you are going to grab or to get the attention of your reader. So, for example, saying he passed away peacefully instead of he died shows a softer, more respectful style. Both mean the same thing, but the choice of words affects how the message is received. Do you understand? Alright, now let's move on to the transitivity. This is a system in which the particular grammatical facility used for capturing experience in language. This means that um, this means that how grammar helps us express our experiences in language. It involves using specific structures like verbs, nouns, and sentence patterns to describe what's happening, who is involved, and how things are done. For example, if someone says, the boy is eating an apple, the who is um, grammar shows who is the boy. So the boy there is the noun. What is happening is what is happening is eating. So eating is a verb, and what is involved is an apple. So these systems helps us organize our thoughts and share what we see, do, or feel in a clear way. It's like a tool we use in language to turn real life actions or experiences into sentence others can understand. Is it clear? Alright. It is used in an expanded semantic sense, which more so than in traditional grammars where it simply serves to identify verbs which take direct objects. So meaning that in traditional grammar, transitive means a verb that has a direct object, but in modern grammar, the word is used in a wider way to express how verbs connect to other parts of the sentence. For example, she gave him a gift. So gave is the transitive because it links the subject to the objects, which is the objects is a gift. She gave, gave is transitive, and the objects is gifts. Is it clear? Do you understand? Do you have any questions, clarifications? Alright, if none, let's move on to the next. Transitivity also refers the way meanings are encoded in a clause and the way different types of process are presented in language. So this talks about how meaning is shown in a sentence. It also explains how different actions or events are shown in language. For example, The boy broke the window. The sentence show who did the action and what was affected. So who did the action in the example? The boy broke the window. So who did the action is the boy, and what was affected is the window. Okay, is it clear? You understand, everyone? Now let's move on to the three components of process in transitivity. First, we have the process itself, which is typically realized in grammar by the verb phrase. This term, or the term process in grammar, refers to the actions, events, or state described in a sentence. It's usually expressed through the verb phrase, which is the main parts of the predicates. The verb phrase can show what what the subject is doing, what is happening to it, or what condition it is in. It often includes auxiliary verbs, modals, and the main verb to convey tense, aspects, mood, or voice. Understanding the process helps identify how meaning is constructed in a clause. For instance, in the sentence, the dog is barking loudly. The process is barking, which is the verb phrase show the ongoing action of the subject. Do you understand? Do you have any questions? Alright, let's move on to the next. Number 2, we have the participant or participants associated with the process typically realized by noun phrases, meaning that the participant in the process is the person or thing doing or receiving the action. These participants are usually shown using noun phrase like the girl, a dog, or my teacher. For example, in the sentence, the boy kicked the ball. So the boy and the ball are the participants because they are parts of the actions. Is it clear? Do you understand? Alright. Next is number 3. It is typically expressed by prepositional and adverb phrases. So, some parts of a sentence show where, when, or how something happens. These are usually expressed using prepositional phrases like in the park, or adverb phrases like very quickly. For example, in a sentence, she ran in the park yesterday. So in the park, there is the prepositional, while yesterday is the adverb. Tells us more about the action and expressed with prepositional and adverb phrases. On to the 6 types of process. First, we have material process, or simply process of doing. Associated with materials process are two inherent participants roles with the actor, an obligatory role in the process, and a goal, a role which may or may not be involved in the process. So, meaning that a material process is just something that happens. Two important parts are always involves the actor who does the action and the goal, which is what the actions affects. The actor is always part of the process. The goal may or may not be. For instance, I meet Daniel. So the actor is I, the process meets, and the goal is Daniel. Do you get? Do you understand? Alright. Another example is the washing machine is broke. So, the actor is the washing machine. The process is, the goal is broke down. What I mean, uh, what I mean is the process, rather, is broke down. As I've said that the goal, which may or may not be involved in the process. So, in the example number 2, the washing machine is broke, only the actor and the process are involved. The goal is not involved in the process. Okay, do you understand? Do you have any questions? Do you have clarifications? If none, let's move on to the number 2, process. Next is mental process, are essentially process of sensing. I know that you already know what is sensing. We have these five senses, right? The smelling, touching, hearing, and so on. So it's also inhibit and reflect the world of consciousness and involves A. Cognition, which means encoded in verbs such as thinking or wondering. B. Reaction, as in liking or hating. C. Perception, as in seeing or hearing. These two roles associated are the sensors, the conscious being that is the doing of the sensing, and the phenomenon, the entity which is sensed, felt, thought, or seen, meaning that our minds work by sensing things. This sensing involves three main parts, which are the cognition, which is the thinking, planning, or daydreaming. Second is reaction, feeling, such as liking liking a song or hating the smell. And the third, perception, such as directly experiencing the world through our senses, like seeing a tree or hearing a bird. In every mental process, there is always a sensor, the person experiencing, and the phenomenon, the thing being sensed, felt, or thought about. For example, we have a sensor, process, and phenomenon. So example number 1 is Mary understood the story. So Mary is the sensor, the process is understood, and the phenomenon, the story. Another example is Anil noticed the damp patch. Anil is the sensor, noticed is the process, damp patch is the phenomenon. Another example is Shoban detests pets. Shoban is the sensor, detest is the process, and pet is the phenomenon. It is clear? Do you understand? Do you have any questions regarding to my discussions today? All right. Thank you very much for listening. My partner will continuing discuss our presentation.
Good evening, everyone. I am SHIEN JAZFER V. SEBLA of BSEd English 3A, and tonight I am the second discussant about this topic. So, this image introduces two modes of relational processes, which are the attributive and identifying. Excuse me. So I was saying attributive and identifying. Attributive, this describes what a carrier, which is the entity being described, is like, what it is, where it is, or what it owns. The attribute assigns a quality or characteristics to the carrier. So, to give you an example, the Sampaguita is fragrant. So the Sampaguita is the carrier and the fragrant is the attribute. Or you could say, my mother is in the kitchen. The matter is the carrier, while the kitchen is now our attribute. Or we could also use another example for this, like our barangay has a new basketball court. So the barangay is the carrier and the basketball court is the attribute. So nextly, we have the identifying. This process identifies one entity by relating to another. So what does it mean? It essentially says that X or X is Y or Y is X and vice versa. So meaning to say that, what is X is also the identity or the entity of Y or vice versa. Okay? Now, these processes are reversible. The identifier picks out and defines the identified. So, if our subject is here, then maybe, and then we can like interchange it or reverse it, then it has like the same still function and meaning. So, to give you an example, let's say SHIEN JAZFER or Lea Salonga is the voice of Disney's Mulan. And that is true. So, Lea Salonga is our identifier, and Disney's Mulan is the identified. And as what I've said, X is Y and Y is X. So, let's reverse it. So, if in reverse, the voice of Disney's Mulan is Lea Salonga. So, the identifier is now Disney's Mulan, and then the identified is Lea Salonga. Another example would be the capital of the Philippines is Manila. So the capital of the Philippines is our identifier, and the Manila is one that is being identified. So, or we could say Manila is the capital of the Philippines, and Manila is our identifier, and the Philippines or Philippines is our identified. So that's it. In this image, it provides an overview of different process types or modes of transitivity. It shows how language represents our experience of the world through various kinds of actions, states, and relationships. The ones relevant to the following image are relational, behavioral, and existential. So the behavior, process, and circumstances. So the student fell asleep in my lecture again. So the behavior here is the student, and then the process, which is the action, fell asleep. What made him or her fell asleep? It's because in your lecture. So we can also like say this in a different manner, like she frowned at the mess. So she being our behavior, in the process, of course, the action frowned, and then the circumstances at the mess. So yeah. Paula's presentation was lively. Joyce is the best Irish writer. So this illustrates that the X is Y connection of intensive relational processes. Nextly, we have types of relational processes, which are attributive and identifying modes. This table provides example of three types of rational or relational processes, which are intensive, possessive, and circumstantial, in both attributive and identifying modes. So in the intensive mode, this expresses a relationship of equivalence or quality. Attribute, on the other hand, is it has a carrier in it needs a carrier, and then of course the attribute. So to give you an example, the Filipino food is delicious. So the Filipino food or the food is the carrier, and delicious is the attribute. Okay? So, in the next mode, which is the identifying, we also have an example for that. The national hero is Jose Rizal. The national hero identifier is Jose Rizal, identified. And Jose Rizal is a national hero of the Philippines. So, Jose Rizal is now our identifier, and national hero is the one that is being identified. So, it can be reversed as well. Now, in the possessive, it expresses ownership. So, attributive. So, example, my neighbor has a karaoke machine. So, my neighbor is the carrier, and the karaoke machine is the attribute. When in identifying, the old jeepney is Mang Tony's. So, the old jeepney is our identifier, and Mang Tony's is the one that is being identified. Or it could be reversed as well. Mang Tony's is the old jeepney. See, the Mang Tony's is identifier is now becoming our identifier, and the jeepney has become the subject that is being identified. Well, in circumstantial, it expresses a relationship based on location, time, or other circumstances. Well, let's go to the three modes. First, we have attributive, identifying, and then, oh, yes, I think attributive and identifying only. I'm sorry. So, in attributive, example for this is the fiesta is on Sunday. So, the fiesta is the carrier, and is on Sunday is the attribute. See, because circumstantial, it is a relationship based on location, time, or circumstances. Now, in this case, we have the time and the location. The time. So when on Sunday. So yeah. In identifying, the market is in Baclaran. So the market being identifier, and then the Baclaran is being the one that is being identified. Or it could be reversed as well. In Baclaran is the market. Identifier, Baclaran, market, identified. Okay? So in the next image, this tackles the behavioral processes. Now, behavioral processes describe actions that have to do with psychological or sociological behavior. They often involve a conscious being, the behavior, and may include circumstances. These processes bridge the gap between material, which is the doing, and the mental, which is the sensing processes. Okay? To continue, let us now have the example for the image number 5. So the child smiled at his lolo. So the child is our behavior, and then smiled, well, it is an action word, it is now the process. And then the lolo in the sentence is the circumstances. Another example would be my classmates sigh during the long lecture. So my classmate is the subject or the behavior, sigh is the process, and then the long lecture is the circumstances. Are we clear? Moreover, existential processes asserts that something exists or happens. They typically use there as a dummy subject and have one main participant, called the existent. For example, there is a new mall in our town. So there is the dummy subject. Is the process. A new mall is the existent, and in our town implied circumstance. So Once again, our phrase is, there is a new mall in our town. So there, becoming our dummy subject, is, which is the process, a new mall existent, and then in our town is the implied circumstance. Another example would be, there was a power outage or outaged last night. There, as what our description in the existential processes have, provided, is the dummy subject, and then was was is the process, and then a power outage is the existent, and then last night implied circumstance. All right, are we clear? So more this is more on a relational processes, possessive and circumstantial. This slide provides further explanation and examples for possessive and circumstantial relational processes, reinforcing the concepts from the image for a while ago. And the examples are pretty much consistent with what we discussed earlier. So let's proceed to the image number 8, or slide number 8. So this slide is focusing more on the behavioral processes. This slide elaborates on behavioral processes, highlighting their connection to both sensing and doing. It provides examples like breathe, cough, sigh, cry, laugh, stare, dream, and worry. The key participant is, of course, as what we know, as what we've already discussed a while ago, is the behavior, the action doer. Okay? Okay, I will provide you an example. The fans cheered loudly for the Ascals. So the fans being the behavior, and then the process is the cheered loudly, and the Ascals is the implied circumstances, is what makes them cheered for. So there you have it. Another example would be, my dog whimpered when I left for work or for school, if you will. So my dog, the behavior, the subject, whimpered, the verb, is the process when I left for work. So because of the action left for work, it is now the implied circumstance. Okay? I think we're clear with the image number 8. Let's proceed to image number 9. Image number 9, this is more on the verbalization processes. So, verbalization processes are about saying. They involve a sayer, the one who speaks, a process, the act of saying, and often a verbiage, what is said. There can be also a receiver, the one being spoken to. So, to give you an example, um, the president announced the new holiday to the nation, or to the Philippines, if you will. So once again, the phrase is, the president announced the new holiday to the nation. So who is the sayer in the sentence? It is the president. Announced is the process. The new holiday, the subject of what the speaker or the sayer is saying, is now our verbiage. And then to the nation there is our receiver. Are we clear? Okay. Another example would be, my sister told me a funny story. My sister, being the sayer, told is the process. Me a funny story. So it is the verbiage. Okay? So, in essence, this eloquent dissemination of information I have just shared delves into the fascinating world of transitivity, specifically focusing on how language portrays our experiences through different types of processes. We explored relational processes, which describes state of being in relationships between entities categorized into attributive, describing qualities and identifying, establishing the identities, and further subcategorized by type, which is which are the following: intensive, equivalenced, possessive, the ownership, and circumstantial, which are the location, time, and etc. We have also examined the behavioral processes which represent psychological and physiological actions, existential processes which assert the existence of something, and verbalization processes which involves acts of saying. Each of these processes or types plays a crucial role in constructing meaning and reflecting the diverse way we interact with one another and how we perceive the world around us. And now, and now, to answer the question of understanding how language shapes our reality through these dynamic processes, I believe that by recognizing the intricate ways we connect, act, exist, and communicate through words, particularly within the rich tapestry of the human experiences, we unlocked a deeper appreciation for the power of language to not only describe our world but also to shape our understanding and connection to one another, ultimately fostering a more nuanced and meaningful existence for all. And there you have it, guys. Thank you so much for watching. And if you have questions or clarifications or violent reactions, just comment down below under this video. Goodbye.